a lot of takeaways from whether it's the Q&A session or all the people that have been talking with us. So join me to welcome the RBC Recruitment and Diversity team. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here with my team today with everybody. My name is Vivian. I lead the inclusive recruitment team. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about our recruitment process, and we're going to talk about some advice and tips for interview. And we have our recruiters and my whole team here for you if you have any questions. So actually everybody talked about exams a lot today. I'm going to throw out an exam question to you. What do you know about RBC?
It's called the real bank.
That's a good answer. So if you're invited to an interview, so suppose, say you know that you're coming today to meet with RBC, like our colleagues and people from recruitment team, it's a good advice to do some research about RBC so that you can talk intelligently. I know some of you are pursuing your medical career, which might not consider RBC as your future employer, but for others, if you, actually our insurance hire people with medical background. But it's a good advice when you come to the event like this, do some homework and talk intelligently about RBC and why I want to, I'm interested in your company. So we have our personal and commercial banking. We operate in capital markets, wealth management, RBC insurance. We also have supporting functions like HR and technology and operations. Did you know that RBC is the largest private, I would say, in the private sector, the largest IT employer in Canada? The government of Canada employs the most, but we are, other than the government of Canada, we hire the most IT professionals. And RBC is, transforming us into the technology-enabled bank. So we're building a relationship kind of bank, but with technology enabled. So if you're an IT professional, we're hiring a lot as well. We are also Canada's best diversity employer. We hire from the community to serve the community. So I heard people talk a lot about your accents. You're not from Canada. You don't have Canadian background. But because we serve our customers in 200 languages, you are the people we want to hire from. Because we want to hire from the community so that we need our employees to understand people from your own culture background so that you can provide excellent customer service to our communities. From newcomer community, your difference is your strength. Because you are from Nigeria, you can speak Nigerian and you can communicate and connect with the community. That is how you can provide excellent service to the community. That is your strength. So do not try to hide yourself or cover yourself from who you are. Yeah, so that's just a little bit about RBC and our commitment. We have over 30% of our workforce are visible minorities. By visible minorities, a lot of them are like immigrants, means non-white. We have over 30% of our employee population in certain areas, like in finance, like in China, and talent from Nigeria. So we have a very, very diverse recruitment team as well, and that helps us with our business acumen, to be able to attract diverse candidates into RBC. So that's just a little bit about RBC. I'm going to talk a little bit about our recruitment process, and it's very similar in Canada, the Canadian recruitment process. So there's 3 steps. You apply, and then you go through interviews, and then we make you the job offer, right? A lot of times we would, as an employer, and as a recruitment or team members, we would receive like newcomers send us your resume, say, here's my resume. Please try to see whether you can find a job in RBC for me. nothing's going to piss off a recruiter like that. Because why? Because you didn't do your homework. Right? You're supposed to do your homework and try to find the jobs that, look at your background and look at the jobs on our website and then see, okay, I think my background fits this job and then apply. A lot of times people say, oh, well, I'm interested in job A, B, C, D, E. Can you help me apply? No, we don't. No, we don't. We don't do that. Okay, so we have recruiters in a group with us. You have to help yourself so that we can start helping you, right? Do your research and find your ideal job, apply, and then maybe come to us and say, hey, I have applied. What do you think? Can you give me some advice? Or do you think, if you think my background suits the job and fits the job description, can you help connect me with a recruiter? That is when you're in a position to put forward and ask, right? We post, I would say 98% of jobs are posted externally. We do have some very small percentage of jobs that are saved for internal employees, but the majority of the jobs are posted externally. You can find our jobs on our corporate job site. We recently just launched our new job site portal, which is like Amazon shopping cart. So if when you go on Amazon and you see something, and then the next day you see some email, oh, I think you like this too. You look at this person, and the next day you saw two persons being, recommended to you. So we built our website something like that. So if you have seen some jobs and you saved it and you let us know that you're interested in jobs like this, you will receive some kind of recommended job for you. So do visit our job site, and sometimes LinkedIn, sometimes Indeed, a lot of job boards are also sharing our jobs. So that is the main channel for you to apply. But like our panel members have mentioned, a lot of times, your real homework starts before you apply for a job. Your real homework starts when you connect with someone, right? In the networking event like this, or you connect with a recruiter on LinkedIn or through Twitter, because you make the connection. Maybe the job is not there yet, but the recruiter remembers you, or the hiring manager remembers you, and you make that connection. And when the job comes, or when you see a job on our job board, you apply. You already make that person connection, and people already have the impression about you and your background. And that is when you can put yourself in a little bit ahead of others. And in terms of interview, usually we have, the recruiter interview first, and a lot of times it's over the phone. But sometimes if you're applying for kind of customer service roles, we do have assessment. For example, if you are applying for a branch manager or advice center roles, client advisor or banking advisor roles, we do send you the assessment. And it's very standard. It allows us to assess whether you have the right aptitude for the job. Once you pass a certain score, usually you have to score at least a 4 or 5, you will be invited by the recruiter for a recruiter interview. And after a recruiter interview, you're successful, the recruiter will pass your resume to the hiring manager and provide their notes. Hey, I have interviewed this candidate, these are all my observations, and here you go. So, and then the next step will be hiring manager interview.
Okay, so the idea of doing your homework and strategizing has been mentioned during the panel and a lot throughout this whole presentation so far. I'm still at the previous one. So I'm just going to echo that and say, yes, please continue to research not only the role that you're applying for, but also the company and also your hiring team. So it's not just leveraging information that you find on Google, but also leveraging social media. Nowadays, once you have the idea of the team, the specific team or the specific department that you want to work for, you can use LinkedIn as a tool to find the people who are working on this team, people who have previously worked on this team. What are their career journeys look like? What are the education that they have had? What is the volunteering, extracurriculars, whatever, that they've had in the past that they've leveraged themselves and brought to the role. For the interview itself, make sure to have the directions and the logistics prepared for the day of. If you can, try to go to the location the day before so that when you do interview, you have that extra stress of, am I going to be there on time? What about transit? What about my GO trains late? So that's another stress. That's a lot of pressure that's not on your shoulders. So you can show up early enough and just be prepared to answer the questions, prepare whatever information that you have that you prepared before your interview. And for one of the strategies.
Yeah, so I just on the logistics and the timing and everything of coming for an interview. Something I always try to encourage people to be aware of in terms of coming to, you don't want to come too early for an interview. If your interview is 11, don't show up there at 11:30 because, once you get there, the recruiter, they know that this person's outside waiting for them. You might be putting them under undue stress as well because now this person's early, I got to wrap up something. If you could get there 10 minutes before, will be ideal. Now, a little tip, this is what I used to do for myself when I started the job search process. I will get close to the location early, but usually I'll go to a coffee shop nearby. There's a Tim Hortons on almost every corner. Go there, kind of compose yourself, take deep breaths. I know many of us have probably gone through interviews, but people still get nervous. All right, you want to go there, kind of de-stress a little bit, have yourself mentally prepared, and then when time comes, you just literally just go upstairs in the building, if it's across the street or whatever the case may be, and you're ready for your interview. All right, it's just a little tip just to have yourself ready for the day.
Because at that point, if you've already booked the interview, it's all you at that point, right? And all that extra stress, all that extra worry, being flustered and rushing, it's not worth it for yourself and for the hiring team themselves, right? So like we mentioned in our introductions, we not only work to help internationally qualified professionals or Indigenous people find roles at RBC, but also we connect with professionals with disabilities as well. So if you would like to request accommodation, or if it's something you would like to discuss, now would be a good time to bring this up. You don't necessarily need to request it immediately, but you can start the conversation in the initial pre-screening call, the first round of interviews, if you're comfortable. So
And our team is here again for that. I know it might sound strange that we're having a discussion about disability, but you know what? We've found it very useful when we go out to newcomer communities because disabilities might not be something that was talked about a lot back home where you're from. But in Canada, persons with disabilities is an important group as every other diverse group. And RBC, we're committed to supporting candidates with disabilities. So some people are nervous to disclose that they have a disability. So our team is here. Again, you can reach out to me directly. You can disclose to me so I can run sort of like the behind the scenes to talk to the recruiter. If you need accommodations, we will provide that, try to provide that for you. So just as an example, sometimes an interview might be a panel interview. But if you're someone with an invisible disability, with anxiety or something like that, you might not do well in a panel interview. We will talk to the hiring team to try to maybe change it around. So maybe instead of meeting 3 people at one time in a room, we'll set up 3 back-to-back one-on-one appointments for you. So 20 minutes with the first person and the second person comes in, just to make the recruitment process, the interview process, as stress-free as possible for you. Because we want to hear your story. Mm-hmm. And all of this is all about storytelling, by the way. And we talk about standing out. We want to make sure that you're comfortable enough to tell your story, and we want you to bring your best self, your whole self, to the interview process. So that's why we just talk about the accommodation quickly.
And just on that note, just to speak to the first point again, when you're researching the role in the company and the hiring team, yes, you want to figure out how you can leverage your skills, leverage your talent, your education, your experience. But you also want to figure out how do you align yourself with the organization, with their mission, with their values. Because again, that adds to your complete package as somebody who wants to be part of the organization and somebody that they should hire, right? Yeah, you can continue on to the next slide. Okay, so in terms of preparing this whole package for the interview, in these social situations like workplace interviews in Canada, it's very important to be aware of first impressions and how quickly we form these first impressions. It's within seconds, right? So your in-person interview, you are going to be presenting your image, your brand, your reputation. So in doing the proper research on the company, on their culture, you're going to be able to assess what the dress code is like. I mean, I would say that our team, we're pretty casual. But either way, for an interview situation, you want to bring your best foot forward. You want to bring your best self forward, right? So definitely, dress to impress. Be prepared for a business formal attire. Worst case scenario, if it is very casual, you can always just remove your jacket for both men and women. Again, just the worst case scenario. So we have the point about perfume and cologne. Just to be mindful of the people in the office, in the workplace that you are walking into, or the people in the interview room that you are going to be talking to for, 30 minutes to maybe an hour. Sensitivities to smell, to cologne, and perfume is very emphasized in the workplace. There are a lot of, even on our floor, before you even go in, there's a sign that says no peanuts and no perfume. So that's something else to be mindful of.
Yeah, so these examples are very small, so we'll just move on. Now, after the behavioral questions are done, again, everything is a very structured approach. The recruiter or the hiring manager might say, okay, that's all the questions I have. Do you have any questions for me? Please, under no circumstance should you say, no, I'm good. I have no questions. Always have questions to ask back. This is again, even if your interview was kind of shaky, this is where you can actually redeem yourself by asking some really intelligent questions, really engaging that recruiter or the manager. Because you know what? I've had situations where I've heard hiring managers or some recruiters saying, man, that guy asked me some really good questions. Trust me, it comes down to 5 people and they're trying to decide who is going to go. I remember that guy or I remember that lady. Okay, so you always want to have questions to ask. And it comes all the way back to what a lady was mentioning before, preparation, preparation, preparation. If you do your research in the company, research on the role, research on the hiring managers, research on the recruiters, you can find questions to ask back.
Active for full time.
Yeah.
I think
We have a recruiter. I was not going to point.
Yeah.
Couple of things. I'll start with the last one. There is, depending on where you're working and what roles and all of that, I've had roles that I see a candidate, because I talk to the hiring managers, I know what they're looking for. I see that candidate and I know immediately he needs to talk to this candidate. I've hired somebody into a role within a week. I've also hired somebody into a role that takes a couple of months. It all depends. However, as a recruiter, one of the hardest things about being a recruiter is follow-up and reaching back out to everyone. I'll give you an example. My LinkedIn inbox. On a slow month, I have 2,000 email messages in my LinkedIn inbox. On a slow month. So you want to try to reach out to everyone. However, one of the things that is a personal commitment for me is if I talk to somebody where we have a conversation, you interview with me, at a minimum, you will get an email back from me. Here's where we are. Even if we decide it's a no, you get an email back. In most cases, I recruit for TNO, and there are about 15 recruiters. All we do is recruit for technology for RBC, 15 to 20, depending on what's going on. And we definitely talk among each other. If I need somebody that is, for example, I'm recruiting for a BA. If I'm recruiting for that BA and somebody else has BAs and they interviewed like 4, and out of the 4, they really, really like 2 or 3, guess what I'm going to go do? Who's a silver medalist? Who have you guys talked to that you liked? Maybe the role was canceled, whatever it is. I'm going after those ones first, and I'll call you first. So sometimes, if you have follow-up, it is okay to reach out to a recruiter. When you go to the interview, a couple of things, I was actually taking notes as you guys were talking. When you go to an interview, if you are a developer, if there's a whiteboard in that interview room, please use it. It is perfectly fine. You have an accent. I have a very mixed up accent, so we'll leave that one alone. However, I speak fast. One thing I tell people that are immigrants, please speak slowly. Slow it down. We tend to speak very fast. Slow it down. I also I do my best not to have folks do phone interviews with managers. Some people don't present as well in a phone interview. In a case where we can't, we'll try to work with you. Here's what you do, here's the type of manager you have and all that. My job is to make sure that I give you as much information as possible to interview. So my colleagues, like, I know she was talking about contract, like, I don't touch contracts at all. However, what we do that is very common is we want to bring the best talent to RBC. But then on the other hand also, what we also want to do is make sure, I tell people, I can't hire everyone. But what I will do is give you information that's beneficial to you. If you are talking to me and you get an offer somewhere else, I'd be sad I didn't hire you, but I really don't care if you need help understanding what you should be doing. What many of us do is we try to give information, like some of the information they gave, it's stuff that we want to make sure you're aware of. We'd like you to work with us, but it's possible you won't. Ask questions, prepare. I love how Vivian said, it's not our job to, here's my resume, find me a job. Say what? I look at those emails, I'm like, yeah, next. Because I don't know what you're good at. You can tell your story best. I tell people when you send a note, resumes are great, certifications are fantastic, education is awesome. What you need to do, when they say, tell me about yourself, please don't tell me I have a master's. What they wanted to do is, if we hire you into this role, how will you work with that team? What's good about you? And I tell people, this is the easiest way to remember. It's you and you for a job. What do you want me to know that I won't talk to her at all? That's what you want to put down. And I try to remind people of that. That's the biggest thing. If you're going for an interview, it is very okay if the recruiter, which I hope none of us do at RBC, and I'm pretty sure we don't, will tell you who you're interviewing with. Hit Google. Find out information, see what the person has done. If you don't know who you're interviewing, it is okay to ask. I know that as immigrants, sometimes we're kind of like shy. Salaries, it's okay to ask information. Now, please don't let the salary be the first question. So what's this role pay? I've had that before. Automatically, second pile. Because in my mind, that's all you care about, right? So there's really no hard and fast rule. A lot of it is common sense, truth. But I think also the way we present ourselves. Networking, key. I can't remember the lady's name that was talking about networking on the. Networking is key. When you're working in a job, no matter what you're doing, network where you work inside the company. I come and hang out on the floor. We don't work on the same teams, but we know each other just because. And that's why I was like, I don't know her, she's new. That's why, okay. 2 days, that's why I haven't been on the floor yet.
She's the winner of our hot wing challenge.
Yes, I ate the spicy hot wings. And we do things like that, but it's very important for you to network and the networking is not, I'm looking for a job. No, it's not that. It's more of, okay, I know an accountant. I know this, I know that. I've not met that gentleman in person before. However, I know who he is. So I would say it's a circle. Network, talk to people. Reach out to people. Some people are cool, some are not, hey, human beings. But I think as you go along, you find that there's a lot of information out there. Google is your friend. Find information. You can ask for information. It's all, you know how they say it's not what you say, but how you say it? Please ask for information. There was something I wrote down here. 1 second. Confidence is great. Being cocky is not. I had an amazing guy that was a BA, knows wealth, knocked it out of the park. Interviewed with 4 teams in wealth. 3 teams turned him down. They said he's super smart, he's good at what he does. Guess what they said? He's cocky, he won't fit with the team. It's a huge thing. I'll joke about this. As Naija people, most of us are confident. Just make sure you don't cross that line to being cocky. Managers pick up on it and they will pass. Like literally, I got that role back from 3 different teams. This guy should have been hired, but he wasn't. And they all in different rooms, they all had the same complaint. So please, it's important. I think when they said, oh, your top strength, I saw that up there. Your top strength, usually we want to hear, what are your soft skills? When we say soft skills is, how do you solve problems? What are the things that you've done? You want to tell people what you've done on a team. On the team, we did this, but here was my part. Because when you say we, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're part of the project. Were you just doing photocopy papers? I don't know. You understand? So there's we, and then there's I did. And saying I did is not being proud of it. It's just saying this is what my contribution was. I think a lot of that definitely helps out. As recruiters, it's important for me to make sure you understand the job. When you go for the interview, she mentioned earlier on, you're interviewing them. And I tell my hiring managers this. I'm actually exceptionally hard on my hiring managers. You're interviewing the candidate. The candidate is interviewing you. And I will remind the candidate, you better be interviewing them. When you come out of that door, you need to know what the job entails, what's expected of you. It's very okay to ask questions, because even within RBC and even within teams, like we recruit predominantly in the same areas. However, some of the things I need to do may be different from what she would need to do for her role. So it's important to understand the role. You can apply for roles. For example, when you see things, you look at the RBC side, always apply to the role first. Then if somebody that works there, or you have, a link or whatever, then you can say, I applied for such and such a job. Here's my resume, but I've already applied. In that case, it's possible, oh, you know what, they might be able to take a look. If they're going to help you, then it's easier because you've gone and applied. Because the recruiter is going to work inside that applicant tracking system. So my email box, I'm not working out of that. I'm working in the tracking system. So if you don't apply, even if you're fantastic for the role, we won't see it. And then you just did yourself a disservice. So I think the biggest thing is the recruiter is your partner. And we will definitely try to give you as much information as possible. If you have questions, email is great. I tell people, I'm challenged on the phone. If you send an email, 9 times out of 10 you get a response. Question. If you're going to an interview, I have teams in 4 buildings. I will give you explicit information. You're going to this floor, call this person. I'll even give you Google Maps and tell you where to park, because parking is expensive downtown. So a lot of times we want to make sure we give you all that, but if you don't have that, make sure, just plan ahead. If you can get there, fine. If you can't, check your transit. Get there, make sure you do all of those little things that would have us know that, you know what, this person is trying. If you're trying, obviously, we want to try to help you more, okay? So if you're putting in the best, then we're encouraged to say, you know what, I will tell a hiring manager, and I have, no, talk to him again. And here's what I'll tell the candidate. You're going to talk to this hiring manager. This is the kind of person he is. Usually with the senior directors and VPs, when you have to do that final interview, I'm telling you, this is the direct. I have some senior directors, 15 minutes. I'm sure you have a few. 15 minutes, they're done. And I tell you, don't feel bad if you're done in 15 minutes. It's okay. They're just concise and quick. They know what they want. They know what they don't want. So as you go along with the journey, there are many of us, and there are different types. We're all human. There are different types of recruiters. But I will say that for the most part, we want the roles filled, because we have people that we are accountable to also. But we also want to get the best people in. So please ask questions, send information. But most of all, speak to what you know you can do. Embellishing a resume, don't bother. They will crack and find it. If I don't pick it up, most of the time I do in tech, because I used to work in tech for 20 years. If I don't pick it up, the hiring manager will. So the things you're good at, please, by all means, let us know what you're good at. If you struggle in a certain area, all you need to do is, I'm open to learning. I'm open to advancing my career, that's all. We don't expect you to know everything, but the ones that you know that you're good at, emphasize that one. That's your selling point. Like she said earlier on, your difference is what makes you unique. That's what makes you, that's your selling point. I've had similar experiences. It's just a little bit different from mine because I'm half, both on both sides, both Nigeria here in the US. But the biggest thing is when you move back here, you're starting from scratch. That's what we all have in common. And then our duty, of course, is to help those that are coming up to give you information. Information is power. And that's pretty much, God bless them. They do this more than I do. But this is where we all come in. So please, if you have questions later on, I'm happy to answer questions. If you send me an email, I will respond. But I think at the same time, too, I really want to give props to our diversity team because they make a lot of information available to the public.
Thank you so much. And actually, I don't have any additional point to add.